I remember the first time I went down into the marrow depths. Back then, my suit was a little less restrictive, my hands a little steadier, and my lungs didn't feel like they were crushed under a mountain of stone. But the one thing I'll never forget, never escape, was the silence. It's not the absence of noise. There's always something down here. The distant groans, the faint clicks that might be rocks shifting or something worse. But no wind, no birdsong, no life. Just that quiet weight pressing down on you until you're sure you'll suffocate. Today, the silence is broken by recruits whispering behind me. A futile effort at optimism, but it's better than the stifling dread I know will take hold soon enough. Fresh faces, all of them. They've been drilled, suited, and shoved into the belly of this world because someone, somewhere, decided they could handle it. The truth is, most of them won't. "Eyes front, Maddox," I bark, my voice sharp over the comm. The recruit stiffens, snapping his helmet light to the path ahead. He doesn't know it yet, but that flashlight beam will feel like the only thing tethering him to reality before this is over. It's better he learns to trust it now. The airlock seals behind us and the transition begins. The processed air from the base above fades into the stagnant tang of the marrow depths, metallic, stale, and organic. A few of the recruits flinch as their suit filters adjust, but I focus on the descent ahead. The lift shudders, grinding downward into the earth, deeper than most people will ever go in their lifetimes. I can almost feel the weight of the rock above bearing down on us. By the time the lift stops, the tension in the squad is overwhelming. My comm clicks once, standard protocol, ensuring all suit communications are active. "Welcome to the marrow depths," I say, my voice a flat monotone. "Check your weapons and stick to the formation. The mission is simple. Locate the retrieval point, recover the artifact, and get out. If you see movement, report it. Don't engage unless I give the order. Understand?" A chorus of affirmations echoes back. They sound confident, but I know better. The weight of what lies ahead hasn't settled on them yet. We march forward into the tunnels. The ground beneath our boots crunches faintly, a mix of rock and something else. Bone, maybe, or whatever the swarm left behind when it fled, or when it died. I don't dwell on it. You can't, not down here. We pass the first kilometer in relative silence. It's a straight corridor, reinforced during the initial invasion to serve as an access route for troops. Now, it's a tomb. Pockmarked walls tell stories of battles fought here. The scorched marks of plasma grenades and railgun rounds are silent testimony to the war's brutality. The recruits keep their chatter to a minimum, their eyes darting toward every flicker of shadow cast by their helmet lights. We hit the breach point, where human architecture ends, and the alien world begins. The reinforced walls give way to something else. The transition isn't gradual, it's abrupt. Metal bulkheads are twisted and warped, overrun by a translucent, vein-like growth. A few recruits stop short, their breathing audible over the comms. Maddox mutters something, too low for me to hear, but I can guess what he's thinking. "Eyes forward, keep moving." They obey, but I can feel their unease spreading like a virus. They haven't seen it before, not like I have. This isn't just an alien infestation, it's something worse. Organic structures crawl over the rock walls, luminescent in shades of green and yellow. It's as if the swarm left a part of itself behind, a biological imprint of its madness. "Contact!" A voice hisses through the comms, cutting through the silence. My gut tightens. We've barely made it past the transition zone. Too soon. "What do you see, Corporal?" "Movement on the walls, sir. Small, spider-like." I freeze, raising a fist to signal the squad to halt. Slowly, I scan the corridor ahead, my flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, and then I see them. Merklings. Dozens of them, crawling along the walls and ceiling, their translucent bodies revealing writhing, organ-like sacs within. Their limbs move with unsettling precision, needle-like appendages tapping against the walls as they approach. They emit a faint, high-pitched whine that sets my teeth on edge. "Stay calm," I say, though my own pulse quickens. "Hold position, Maddox. Deploy the drones." The recruit fumbles with his pack, releasing a small recon drone into the air. Its lights flicker briefly before it spirals out of control, crashing against the wall. Merklings, I mutter under my breath. Their whine disrupts electronic systems, something I learned the hard way on my first mission down here. Switch to manual targeting, I command. Short bursts, conserve ammo. The squad opens fire. Rail carbine rounds rip through the swarm, scattering translucent bodies that burst into plumes of noxious gas. The smell seeps through even the best suit filters, acrid and suffocating. One of the recruits panics, firing wildly. "Control your shots," I bark. But it's too late. The Merklings retaliate, leaping onto the panicked recruit and driving their appendages into his suit. His screams fill the comms as his body goes rigid, paralyzed. "Get them off him!" Maddox shouts, raising his weapon. "Negative, fall back," I order. It's a hard call, but I know what happens next. The Merklings drag the paralyzed recruit into the darkness, their high-pitched whine fading with them. The squad regroups, breathing hard. I take a quick head count. 1 down already. Not a great start. We continue ahead. There's no time to mourn, no time to think about the recruit whose name I won't let myself remember. The deeper we go, the stranger the tunnels become. Alien growths line the walls, and the air feels heavier, like it's resisting every breath we take. Ahead, the bodies emerge from the shadows, the remnants of a previous squad buried in the alien growths. Their armor is fused with the organic matter, limbs distorted in unusual ways. One of them still clutches his weapon, its barrel corroded by the alien environment. "Stay back," I warn the squad. The recruits hesitate, staring at the grotesque tableau. I approach the bodies cautiously, scanning for any signs of movement. The last thing we need is for these corpses to rise. "They were ambushed," Maddox says, "taken by surprise, just like—" "Enough!" I cut him off. "This is what happens when you lose focus. Keep moving." We push past the carnage, though I can feel the pressure on the squad. They're scared now, more than before, and fear is dangerous down here. Finally, we reach the first waypoint. A broken terminal embedded in the wall flickers weakly, its human design incongruous against the alien surroundings. I extract the data chip, scanning the coordinates for the artifact's location. It's deeper, a lot deeper. The recruits exchange uneasy glances. "What are we even retrieving, sir?" one of them asks, breaking the unspoken rule of questioning the mission. "You'll know when we find it," I reply, deflecting. The truth is, I don't know any more than they do, and that scares me more than I'd like to admit. As we regroup and prepare to move deeper into the tunnels, the recruits' chatter becomes strained, their bravado giving way to quiet murmurs of doubt. I feel the familiar weight of guilt settling in. These kids didn't sign up for this. They don't belong down here. But neither do I. "Eyes forward," I repeat, more to myself than anyone else. The silence returns, heavier than ever. It's the kind of silence that tells you the worst is yet to come. The air feels different the deeper we go. There's a weight to it, as if the marrow depths themselves are wrapping around us. Every step further away from the surface feels like the earth is swallowing us whole. I check my oxygen levels more out of habit than necessity. The readings are fine, but my chest still tightens. The recruits are quiet now. Even Maddox, who'd been whispering nervously on the way down, keeps his eyes fixed forward. The earlier encounter with the Merklings has stripped away their bravado. Their movements are slower, cautious. Good. Fear might kill you down here, but recklessness will do it faster. I motion for a halt as the tunnel ahead widens into a cavern. The alien growths have thickened here, spilling across the ground in ridges of translucent tissue. They squelch underfoot as we advance, our boots sinking slightly into the organic surface. The recruits hesitate, their discomfort obvious. "Stick to the plan," I say over the comm. "Spread out, maintain visual contact, and keep your weapons ready. Nothing moves without my say-so." As we enter the cavern, the temperature seems to drop. The cavern walls are filled with alien spires, rough structures that rise from the floor like ribs in a rotting carcass. Maddox stops abruptly, raising a hand. "Sir, there's something ahead. Movement." I follow his line of sight. At first, it's hard to make out in the dark. Then I see a blurry, undulating mass creeping along the far wall. A swarm of merklings, hundreds of them, their translucent bodies glowing as they move in unison. "Hold position," I whisper. My heart pounds in my chest, but I force myself to keep calm. Merklings in these numbers are a death sentence if they swarm us. We're going to back out of this cavern slowly. No sudden movements. The squad begins to retreat, but the sound of a misstep, a boot scraping against stone, echoes loudly. The merklings freeze, then scatter across the walls and ceiling, their high-pitched whine filling the cavern. "They're coming!" "Light them up!" I shout, raising my weapon and firing into the mass. The recruits follow suit, their weapons blazing as rounds tear through the swarm. The merklings burst into plumes of noxious gas, but the sheer number of them makes it impossible to keep track. I spot one, latching onto a recruit's back, its sharp limbs piercing his suit as he screams and flails wildly. I rush over, slamming the butt of my weapon into the creature and crushing it against the stone. The recruit collapses, trembling, but alive. "Keep firing," I bark, turning my attention back to the swarm. When the chaos finally subsides, the cavern falls silent. The surviving merklings retreat into the shadows, their whine fading. The recruits are breathing heavily, their suits streaked with the residue of alien innards. I do a quick head count. We've lost 2 more. Their bodies lie motionless on the ground, limp and lifeless. "We keep moving," I say, my voice harder than I intend. There's no time for grief down here. The next stretch of the journey is quieter, but the tension is unbearable. The recruits barely speak now, their eyes wide behind their visors. They've started glancing over their shoulders constantly, expecting something to emerge from the darkness. We come across another tunnel junction, the walls slick with a viscous, greenish liquid. I hold up a hand, signaling the squad to stop. Something isn't right. "Stay sharp," I say, scanning the tunnel ahead. We hear a growl, so deep it vibrates through the ground beneath our feet. The recruits freeze, their weapons raised. "What the hell was that?" Maddox whispers. The growl comes again. It's followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. A shadow appears at the far end of the tunnel, massive and misshapen. My stomach sinks as the creature steps into view. It's a bone harrow. Even though I've seen them before, the sight is still enough to turn my blood to ice. Its grotesque body is an unholy fusion of human and alien flesh, its head split down the middle to reveal a gaping maw lined with shards of bone. Its movements are jerky yet purposeful, like a predator sizing up its prey. "Open fire!" I command, unloading my weapon into the abomination. The bone harrow charges, undeterred by the hail of gunfire. Its regeneration is terrifyingly fast. Wounds close almost as soon as they're inflicted. It barrels into the squad, its massive arms swinging like battering rams. One recruit is caught in its path, thrown against the wall with a sickening crunch. "Focus your fire on its head," I order, hoping to slow it down. The squad obeys, their shots finally causing the creature to stagger. But it's not enough. The bone harrow roars, its maw opening wide as it charges at another recruit. I spot a weakness, the spinal column exposed for a brief moment during its charge. "Fall back! Draw it into the open!" I command. The recruits retreat, leading the bone harrow into a wider section of the tunnel. I grab a fragmentation charge from my belt, waiting for the right moment. As the monster charges again, I toss the charge directly at its back. The explosion rocks the tunnel, and the bone harrow collapses, its spinal column severed. The recruits stand in stunned silence, their weapons still raised. I approach the creature cautiously, my weapon trained on its remains. Even in death, it's a horrifying sight. Its body twitches faintly, as if trying to regenerate, but the damage is too severe. "Let's move," I say, breaking the silence. "It won't be the last one." We advance, though the squad is visibly shaken. The encounter with the bone harrow has left them rattled, their confidence shattered. Maddox walks in silence, his hands shaking slightly as he grips his weapon. We reach another cavern, smaller than the first, but no less unsettling. At its center lies the remains of an old terminal, partially buried under alien growths. The display glows weakly as I approach, Its human design, a stark contrast to the organic chaos surrounding it. "This is it," I say, plugging the data chip into the terminal. The screen activates, displaying data streams and coordinates. My eyes scan the map as it unfolds, a three-dimensional rendering of the marrow depths etched with glowing veins of alien biomass. At the very center of the network, deep below our current position, a single point flashes ominously. "What's it say?" Maddox asks, his voice strained, breaking the heavy silence. I don't answer immediately. The terminal's text confirms what I've been afraid of since we entered this nightmare. The artifact's location is no ordinary waypoint. It's at the very heart of the infestation. Every alien growth, every vein of biomass converges on that single point, like blood feeding into a monstrous heart. "This isn't just a retrieval mission," I mutter. "The artifact, it's at the nexus, the epicenter of all this." I gesture to the walls around us. Everything down here leads back to that point. We're headed straight into their stronghold. Maddox's eyes widen behind his visor. "Their stronghold? You're saying we're walking right into the middle of the Abyssal Legion?" I grit my teeth, the weight of the realization sinking in. "That's exactly what I'm saying." The squad erupts into a flurry of panicked chatter, their voices overlapping in a chaotic blend of fear and disbelief. "This is suicide," one recruit says. "We'll never make it out alive." "They didn't tell us about this," another hisses. "They sent us down here to die." "Enough!" I bark, my voice cutting through the chaos. The recruits fall silent, their gazes fixed on me, though their terror is intense. I take a steadying breath, forcing myself to exude calm. "They didn't tell us," I say, my voice low but firm. "But this is the mission. Like it or not, we have to keep moving. If we turn back now, we're as good as dead. You've seen what's down here. The only way out is through." My words hang in the air, heavy with the weight of the truth. The recruits exchange uncertain glances, their resolve wavering. We move cautiously. No unnecessary noise, no unnecessary light. If we encounter resistance, we fall back and regroup. Conserve your ammunition. Every round counts. "And if we reach this nexus?" another recruit asks. "Then we retrieve the artifact," I say, though even as I speak, the words feel empty. I have no idea what we'll find down there, or if we'll even survive to see it. "Let's move." We move further into the depths. The alien growths now dominate the environment, twisting the tunnels into a grotesque organic labyrinth, with walls oozing translucent fluid. My legs ache, my body weary, but I don't let it show. The recruits need to see resolve, not doubt. The path tightens into a funnel before opening into the largest chamber we've encountered yet. My breath catches as I step inside. The artifact stands at the center, cradled by a grotesque structure of alien biomass that rises from the ground like a monolith. It gleams with a black sheen, its surface crisscrossed with glowing lines that pulse rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. This is it, the nexus, the core of everything that's poisoned this place. The recruits file in behind me, their movements hesitant. Maddox speaks first, his voice subdued but steady. "That's the thing, isn't it?" "It is," I reply. My eyes stay fixed on the artifact as its glow lights up the chamber, reflecting off the organic walls. Every nerve in my body screams at me to stay alert. "Weapons ready?" I say. "We don't know what's waiting for us." As we approach the artifact, the ground trembles beneath us. The recruits tense, their weapons trained on every flash of movement. The first limb strikes without warning, a whip-like appendage lashing from above and coiling around a recruit's torso. It jerks him upward with terrifying speed. He doesn't even have time to scream before the alien biomass envelops him completely. His weapon clatters to the ground, the only trace of him left. "Defensive formation!" I command. Before the recruits can fully react, the walls of the chamber erupt with motion. Bone harrows emerge from the darkness, their grotesque forms illuminated by the artifact's glow. They charge with terrifying speed, their limbs tearing into the ground as they close the distance. Their guttural growls fill the chamber, sending chills down my spine. I fire at the first bone harrow that charges at me, my shots tearing into its chest. It staggers but doesn't stop. I adjust my aim, targeting its exposed spinal column. The rail round hits true, and the creature collapses, its limbs twitching as it finally dies. "They're regenerating too fast," Maddox calls out, his voice calm but strained as he fires at another abomination. "We can't hold them off forever." My mind races as I assess the situation. The artifact is the key. Destroying it might be our only chance to stop the Abyssal Legion. I signal Maddox and the remaining recruits to fall back toward the artifact's base. "We're setting charges," I call out. "Rig them around the artifact." The recruits obey without hesitation, retreating toward the artifact while laying down suppressive fire. The monsters continue to advance, their twisted forms shrugging off most of the damage. Appendages lash out from the walls, trying to ensnare us. I dodge one, slamming my shoulder into the ground as it whips past. I fire a burst into the nearest bone harrow, the rounds chewing through its torso. "Maddox," I say over the comm as I reload, "you handle the charges, we'll hold them off." He nods, already working to arm the remaining explosives. The recruits form a loose perimeter, their weapons blazing as they fend off the onslaught. Every shot counts now. Ammunition is running low, and the abominations show no signs of stopping. A recruit next to me stumbles, his weapons slipping from his hands as a bone harrow barrels into him. I fire a round into the creature's exposed spine, dropping it instantly, but it's too late for the recruit. His limp body lies crumpled on the ground, another casualty in this endless nightmare. "How much longer, Maddox?" I ask as I move to cover him. "Almost done," he replies, not looking up from his work. The final charge is placed, and Maddox steps back, holding the detonator tightly in his hand. "Charges are set," he says. "We need to move." "Not all of us," I reply, raising my weapon. "Get the others out of here. I'll cover your retreat." Maddox hesitates, his eyes narrowing. "Sir, there's no way you'll make it out alive if you stay." "I know," I say, my tone matter of fact. "But if someone doesn't hold them here, none of us will make it out alive. That's an order, Maddox." He clenches his jaw but nods. "Understood." Maddox gathers the remaining recruits, leading them back toward the tunnel we entered from. I stand my ground, my weapon raised as the bone harrows advance. Appendages lash out from the walls, the entire chamber writhing in fury. I fire shot after shot, every round hitting its mark. But it's not enough. They keep coming. My visor is streaked with blood and slime, but I don't wipe it away. My focus is absolute. Another bone harrow falls, its spinal column severed. Through the chaos, I see Maddox and the recruits disappear into the tunnel. They're safe. That's all that matters. I glance toward the artifact one last time. Its glow is almost blinding now. The ground beneath it cracks, and the entire chamber seems to shudder. I raise the detonator, my thumb hovering over the button. "This ends here," I say softly to myself. The explosion is immediate, a roar that drowns out everything else. The artifact shatters, its glow extinguished in an instant. The force of the blast throws me backward, my body slamming into the ground. Pain surges through me, sharp and all-encompassing, as the chamber collapses around me. When I open my eyes, the world is muted. My helmet's visor is cracked, and the HUD flickers weakly. Muffled voices reach me as pain lances through my body when I try to move, but I manage to turn my head slightly. Maddox's face comes into view, streaked with dirt and sweat. "You're alive," he says, relief softening his features. "Barely," I reply. "The artifact?" "Destroyed," he says. "The whole chamber came down with it. Whatever was powering this place, it's gone." I nod faintly, a sense of grim satisfaction settling over me. We survived, but at a cost. The squad is a fraction of what it was, and the horrors we faced will haunt us forever. But the artifact is gone, and with it the Abyssal Legion's nexus. For now, at least, humanity has one less nightmare to contend with. I wake in a stark white room. The noise of machinery fills the air, drowning out the ringing in my ears. My body feels heavy, tethered to the bed by wires and tubes. I blink against the harsh fluorescent lights, my vision swimming before it sharpens enough to make out the ceiling. A med bay. "You're awake." Maddox's voice pulls my attention to the side. He's sitting in a chair, his helmet cradled in his lap, his uniform streaked with grime and blood. He looks older, though it's only been hours or maybe days, I can't tell. "Report," I rasp, my throat dry and voice hoarse. Maddox leans forward, his expression grim. "The artifact is gone. Whatever it was doing down there, it's stopped. The Abyssal Legion's presence in the Marrow depths is diminished, at least for now." Diminished, I repeat, the word heavy on my tongue. It's a hollow victory, and we both know it. "We lost half the squad," Maddox continues. "The rest, they'll live, but they're not coming back from this, not in any way that matters." He pauses, his gaze dropping to the floor. "Command's spinning it as a success. They're already planning follow-up missions, saying the depths are safe enough to send in more teams to clean up." I close my eyes, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. "They won't stop, will they?" "No," Maddox replies quietly. "This war doesn't end. Not here. Not anywhere." 2 weeks later, I'm back on the surface, sitting in a debriefing room in full uniform. My body has healed more or less, but my mind is another story. The interrogators drone on, asking the same questions over and over, dissecting every detail of the mission. What I saw, what I did, what the artifact might have been. "They're pressing for specifics," Maddox tells me later, his voice tinged with bitterness. "They want to know if it was worth it, if the losses were acceptable." I don't answer him because I don't know. Acceptable to whom? The soldiers who won't come home? The families who'll get a folded flag instead of answers? I don't even know what we accomplished. The Abyssal Legion might have lost its nexus, but its remnants are still out there, spreading like a disease. And humanity, we're still tearing ourselves apart trying to fight them. The Marrow depths are declared secure, though everyone knows that word means nothing. The tunnels are sealed for now, but rumors spread quickly. More Abyssal Legions have been sighted on distant colonies, alien growths taking root in places they shouldn't. The war hasn't stopped, it's just shifted to another front. Command offers me a promotion, a desk job far from the front lines. I turn it down. Instead, I sign on for another mission. I tell myself it's because I know the depths better than anyone, that my experience can save lives. But the truth is, there's nothing waiting for me on the surface. Down there, in the darkness, I know my place. As I prepare for deployment, Maddox finds me. He's in civilian clothes, his resignation papers folded neatly in his hand. "You don't have to keep doing this," he says, his tone measured but pleading. "You've given enough." I look him in the eyes, the weight of everything unspoken hanging between us. "Not enough," I reply. He shakes his head, something like sadness flashing across his face. "Then I hope you find whatever you're looking for down there." I don't answer. There's nothing to say. The next descent is just like the last. The hiss of the airlock, the grind of the lift as it plunges into the depths. The squad around me is fresh, their faces a mix of determination and fear. I give the same orders, the same warnings, knowing most of them won't return. As the lift shudders to a halt and the doors open, I step into the silence of the tunnels. The familiar weight of the Marrow depths settles over me. This war isn't over. It never will be. But as long as I'm breathing, I'll keep fighting. Not for command, not for glory, but for the soldiers who follow me into the darkness. And if I don't come back this time, maybe that's the resolution I've been looking for all along. The last thing I hear is the crunch of my boots on alien ground as the depths swallow us whole.